Thank you for choosing In My Shoes. I'm Hilda Brody, your host. Today I have an unusual show for you as well, but first a little bit of things that I need to take care of. Recently we had a couple of shows regarding a different approach in the Triborough USBC Youth Bowling Program, and I had some flyers made up and we gave them to the kids and we asked them to give them to their classmates and to leave them in businesses around the community where the bowling center was. And I think some of them may have put some up on, light poles or mailboxes or something, because I got a warning letter from the Department of Sanitation indicating that the flyers were on city property in the area of 900 Morris Park Avenue. That's how it says, in the area of 900 Morris Park Avenue. So I didn't ask anybody to put any flyers up, but I immediately went over to that area and we cannot find any flyers. The letter also indicated that for every flyer that they do find within a 2-week period of the letter was dated October 9th, they're going to fine me, personally, $150 per flyer. I'm dying here. I sent them a letter asking them to, because I never authorized anybody, could they excuse this fine, this flyer, this particular flyer, and I sent them a copy of the flyer. And if anybody sees the flyer, snatch it down, throw it away, because we will not be producing any more flyers, not at $150 per pen. And we're trying to do something for the community. No good deed goes unpunished. So if you see a flyer that says a different approach on the top left-hand side and Triborough USBC on the right side, take it down and throw it in the trash receptacle, not on the ground, please. Thank you very much. You see this flyer? This is Hilda Brody, your host of In My Shoes. If you see this flyer on any post, any mailbox, any building, any city-owned anything, please take it down, give it to a friend, or put it in the trash, because the city wants to charge me $150 per flyer because no good deed goes unpunished. So please, if you see this flyer, it says Adult Child League, it's a different approach, and USBC Youth, please take it down so that they don't try to take my life away from me. Thank you so much. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my guest, Miss Hope Williams. Oh, let me give you the In My Shoes flip-flop, which you can wear. I found the angels, people. So I've had some difficulty lately because I keep losing stuff. But I found the angels, and because you ladies do angelic work, I'm sharing the angels with you. Thank you. That's yours. And Miss Whitfield, Laurice Whitfield. And this is your flip-flop. The flip-flop goes on your neck. And here's your angel. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Brody.
As you know, if you've seen the show, and I know y'all have, I don't discuss my guests. I let them discuss themselves because I usually leave out key points that make no sense. So, why are you here?
Because you called me here, and you're my BFF, sitting next to my other BFF. And the three of us technically, world, have so much in common. We're all practitioners of the social work field, whether it's mental health, training, or whatever. So, first and foremost, I'm here to support my BFF, Ms. Brody, and I'm here to discuss mental health issues and beauty in general in the community, and especially in the African American community. I don't think that we target to talk about it. We don't talk enough about mental health in the African American community. I don't think we've come as far. It's still taboo. It's looked at in different aspects. We make jokes around the Thanksgiving table because that's always Uncle Joe. He's just a little crazy, but no, it's not that Uncle Joe's just a little crazy. Uncle Joe has some serious mental health issues, and because of our own personal viewpoints, and we don't reach out, and we need to stop saying Uncle Joe is crazy. On top of that, I've noticed a big influx that in the African American community, lupus cancer is just all over the place. It's just flipping. If I get one more news feed on my Facebook, or if I get one more phone call to say, hope somebody's now got cancer, and that has a lot to do with your mental health and your mental illness.
Really?
And we need to talk about self-care, because I always say it's okay. Just because you have mental illness, it doesn't mean you're stupid. And just because you have mental illness, it does not mean that you cannot do self-care. So, because I'm here to support my BFF, it's something that's very close and very near dear to my heart, because we tend to focus on a whole bunch of other things, but in our community, sometimes we're not focusing on the right things to move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had talked about what would be interesting and what the people want to learn and hear about. Women are the backbone of our community. It's the women who raise the children. They not only give birth, but they raise the children. So you want to make sure that you're getting good nutritional prenatal care, and then being able to guide the young life so that they can be productive and resourceful members of community. And all of us, we can relate to family members and friends where so-and-so was using this drug or they were involved in this, and it takes its toll out on the child. There is like a blow-up of ADHD. I've never seen so many children and adults diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It impacts what you learn in school. The children can't focus. So now that school is recommending you need to take this child for treatment, and next thing you know, we got another kid, especially the males, on medication. And what are the long-term effects of these medications? We're seeing the third generation of kids on medications to help calm them down. And sometimes parents are even, I've watched, they're using these medications as a chemical control of the behavior of the child, instead of let's take the time out to figure out, what does Johnny need? What do I need to do as a parent? As a parent, none of us come through with there's no manual that says, this is parenting 101. Mm-hmm. Very often, if you are able to go to a parenting class, you can, but for most parents, they don't have that opportunity. They just wing it. So as a kid, you're kind of like, it's the luck of the draw who you get as your parents. And then you just have to struggle and work through it. Mothers become depressed. Depression and anger can impact your physical health. High blood pressure, chronic back pain, stress. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to get food on the table? All these kinds of things press on a person's mind, and it will have effect on different organs of the body if they don't have a place where they can discharge it or learn how to cope to help make it better for everybody else. So these are the kinds of ideas we were throwing back and forth. So we thought just to open up a dialogue, because I know sitting at this table right now is years of experience and knowledge in terms of these kinds of things that our folks are struggling with in the community. And it's okay to go for help. It's okay. You may not need it a long time, but it's okay.
Mm-hmm. But what happens if the help that you go for is not forthcoming? Like, I have a niece who has 2 sons who are autistic, and the therapist wants to put the older one on Risperdal. Mm-hmm. I've never seen this kid act out, but they tell me that in school he's an 8. But when I said, so what does that mean? What is this 8 standing for? Is it because he's in the 2nd grade? So what is this 8 standing for? And they couldn't tell me, but they were saying that if she didn't give him this medication, then they were calling child welfare on her as for negligence. And,
negligence and neglect.
And that's not, and the kid is saying, I ain't taking it. Because his thing is, when I'm in school, I do what I'm supposed to do, and then I finished. And he finishes before everybody else in the class. So he's sitting there, and he's waiting for everybody else, and then he's playing, and then he's disturbing everybody else, and now he's aggravating the teacher, and so instead of giving him something else to do, they're going to medicate him so that he slows down. And I'm not quite understanding and that's in our community. And he's in a special ed program. So they're supposed to address the child's issue, not suppress the child's growth.
Correct.
This is when, I've heard of situations like this also, and this is when When you don't know what resources are available or you don't know what questions to ask these PhDs and these master level clinicians or people in the school or even in clinics, they can take advantage because you don't know the questions to ask and you don't have anybody who can tell you this is what you need to ask. Because in a way, we have to hold them accountable. You need to do your job. I happen to work with a clinician who is a PhD candidate, and she loves what she does, and she has a passion for the ADHD children. And she has actually gone with the parent, educating the parent, this is what you need to say, this is what you need to do, and going with them to say, this is what we need to do for this child. So the child doesn't need to be on medication, so that if the decision is made that the child should be on medication, we know why, and we know for how long. Because we've also seen that a lot of the children are outgrowing the medication, outgrowing the behavior. They don't need it. But we also know that a lot of and the teacher to manage the children, chemical restraint. And they're really not working with, like you said, giving this, he's not being challenged in school, giving him more to do so that his time is taken up and he's not in a position to disrupt the rest of the class. But you have to have somebody to advocate, and there's just very few people who are able to do that.
Well, I think a lot of it is a lack of training, and we just see this across the board in social work. They're turning out social workers, everybody's going to social work school. I'm going to be a social worker. I used to have a professor, and he used to say all the time, I wants to be the social worker because I wants to help the people. That's all good, and that's well and dandy, but if you don't take what you learn in the classroom and put it to theory and use common sense, but then, common sense is not necessarily common, then you're not going to get the output that you look for. So it's the same thing with teaching. You're teaching the new generation to teach, but you're not teaching them how to teach. You teach them how to write a care plan. My aunt is a teacher. My aunt is so old school care plan. When she does her lesson plans, she's still writing her lesson plans on paper. Her and her principal fight all the time because she's not putting it in the computer. She eventually gets it in the computer, but her lesson plans are well thought out, planned lesson plans. So I can see the frustration in a parent when you got a kid, just because the kid is ADHD, it doesn't mean the kid is stupid. The kid is bright. The kid's mind is always actively turning. So I need to know, why couldn't the teacher pick up? The teacher should always have an extra packet for that child to be doing something while the rest of the class is catching up. To me, sometimes it's the simple basics, that this little boy don't have to be on medication. And then he's in second grade, so how old are you when you are in second grade? What is it?
7.
You're 7. A lot of the behaviors that we think is ADHD behaviors are just real simple. I'm a little 7-year-old boy. I'm curious, and it's part of the learning process. I remember when I was 7, I used to go sit next to a little girl and go like this, because it was good. That's what you did when you were 7. You know what I mean? So it's a matter of, I don't think they're equipping our teachers the way they should anymore. I think everything is into these plans that they write, and it looks really good on paper, but when you turn around and you take it and you try to execute it, what I call in real life, it's hashtag fail. That's what I call it, hashtag fail.
Well, the education department is failing the students in that core curriculum.
Core curriculum makes no sense.
Teach me how to take a test. Don't teach me to apply anything that you've taught me to real life. I just need to pass this test.
Yes.
And so education as opposed to symbolism. That's what it came down to. Is you're not really teaching us anything, so we're not going to really be surviving.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, so that's the excuse that they have for shipping our jobs overseas, because nobody here is qualified to do anything, and it's not that we're stupid, it's that we haven't been taught, and nobody's encouraging anything. I heard recently that they were trying to push people toward the sciences and the math, but there's a whole gap of people not keeping up with what's coming up and coming, so they have to send it overseas. And I keep hearing the people in Washington talking about the outsourcing of the jobs and how they're saving money that way. And until we wake up and smell the coffee for real and start pushing that our kids are really being educated and prepared for the next next go round.
Right.
Because right now we're so outdated that I can't see. I see 2 generations going by before we even close to catching up, and that's kind of scary. And then I heard on the news recently that, and I know this is going to scare you. Men outnumber the women in the world population now. They've messed things up. And now there's more of them than us. So how are we supposed to fix it?
Yeah.
They're outnumbering us because, when China went down to they could only have 1 kid,
Right.
so they were doing selective abortions and they were killing off the women. And then other people have been doing it as well. It's just it's more broadcast from the Chinese
These
people.
yeah.
But there are more men on earth now than women. Be afraid.
Since there's more men, maybe I'll have a better selection of a husband. We'll keep that one.
I mean, because I remember somewhere when we were coming up, it was supposed to be 20 to 1. 20 women to 1. So what we going to do?
Well, then I guess it depends on where you're willing to relocate to.
True.
Because it doesn't feel like in the United States things have changed that much.
No, that's still... Yeah, because most of our guys are in jail. So most of the guys that we would have wanted or had thought about were criminalized before they could even decide what they really wanted to do. So between that and I tell you, remember when Vietnam was happening, I was crying because those are the guys I thought I would have wanted to marry. Because we were 12, 13, and 14, and they were 18, 19, and 20. Those were our could-be husbands, and we didn't have that. So I mean, we can look at the reasons why we're in the predicament we're in, but I think most of us know why we're here. But we haven't come up with a solution yet. Every time we're meeting with resistance, nobody really sees that maybe possibly we do have a chance. And because I've said lately, and I thought that it was getting better for a minute, and then lately people they're throwing up their hands. How can you throw up your hands and you're still alive?
But people don't feel if they lose hope. When people lose hope, they throw up their hands. I mean, you can only live with so much daily trauma. This is beyond stress. The trauma of just trying to live and make it every day. And I'm talking about even those people who are working and got a check coming every week and this, not necessarily living from paycheck to paycheck. They're still worried. Am I going to have a job tomorrow? It preys on your mind. Am I going to be able to retire when I'm supposed to retire? They're looking at us. I was listening to one of the financial shows, and this woman pointed out, okay, so we went from government agencies and retirement plans. You're not doing that anymore. And I think you being retired from the state, you've seen how the tier system is just little by little withered away until there's really nothing there.
They're giving you the bare basics, the skeletons, the bones.
Then they went into those pension, not IRAs. What were those things?
403B.
403s and so okay.
401ks.
So here you got somebody managing your money, who's really not managing your money.
Who's making money?
Making money off your money.
You're not making any money.
Okay, and the fees. So even if you're not, they're gonna make sure you don't make any all the fees. And so they're saying, you know what, this didn't work either. Okay, so now you got to figure out, and you're not another area where we're not really educated and shown that this is what you need to do. What do you set up for yourself? You can't make any money off of savings because I think it's 0.0 whatever percent that you're giving.
0.032.
Okay, so how do you prepare for retirement? How do you
What do
the
you do?
the greed, and that preys on your mind and depression, anger and depression. How are you even going to expect it to continue to go forward when these are the things you're faced with, not only for yourself, but for your family?
So we have to come up with a solution.
And then you wonder why people say, I always get that question, well, what made that man decide to, not for nothing, just go in the garage and shut the garage up and turn on the gas and stick the banana in the tailpipe and kill himself?
Or
And then when
climb up
you, or jump, you know what I mean?
Or kill the whole family.
Or kill the whole family.
Climb up on the water tower with the deer rifle.
Yeah, I mean, you sit back and you say, oh, that's a shame. But then when you hear the back end of the story, people are really suffering from some real serious issues and problems.
But even accessing the services, it's not as
It's not as easy as
smooth.
no?
No,
It's not a smooth.
it's not a
path.
smooth transition.
The insurance companies are making people more sick just by the hoops that they have to jump through to get to the services. So by the time they get to the services, they're usually angry with the therapist. And it's not so much the service providers
It's
that
the
are not
process
providing
to get to the service.
Exactly. So what steps can people take to make it less difficult? Because we can sit here and we can spend the next couple of years just talking about what the problems are. It's like when I did Voc Rehab, I would tell people, don't come in here and ask me to pick your life for you. What steps have you taken? What research have you done? Because it's your life. Because guess what? I'm going to look for what's easiest for me. Because I got 370 something of you people. So what are you going to do? So I would suggest that you go to the library and you go visit schools and you check out and stop being so embarrassed about having the disability. This not. I mean, most people are disabled because this is life circumstances. Okay, fine, and I'm coming to a quote unquote rehab professional to help me. So if you can't tell me what's wrong with you, how can I help you? How do we get around that? And mental health is even more difficult because sometimes, a lot of times, the clients that I had, they would get the medication and they feel better.
That's it.
So they stop taking their medication. So now they're back and
Square one.
back to square one, and so they're non-compliant, and sometimes it even goes to their non-compliance, and then they lose benefits. So now, and that's a vicious cycle.
It is.
I think what I'm seeing is that people have been told you have a mental illness and therefore you can't do this and you can't do that. That's not true. You have a condition, and if you look around, just like diabetes and high blood pressure, if you do what you have to do to manage that condition and you do what you have to do to acquire skills to cope, and well, why did I get so upset about that? Did I really need to get that up, go to the red zone? When you can understand those aspects and have control over your life, then you can move forward with it. I'm constantly trying to encourage my folks. Okay, so you got this going on. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? What do you want to do today and tomorrow? You know, people say, oh, I don't want to go because I have a new therapist and I don't want to have to start from scratch. You don't start from scratch. You've learned something from all those times you were with somebody. Use those skills. Pull up that knowledge. What are you going to do today? What are you going to talk about today? And what are you going to do differently tomorrow? But so many folks are told, even we work in dialysis, and the first thing they tell them, oh, you can't work anymore. Now we got to go around and undo that. What?
Yes.
Physicians tell.
Oh yeah. You'd be surprised how they encourage
You're
patients.
totally disabled. And
I've had physicians sit there doing rounds and say, well, you know, you need to go see the social worker, and you know, she'll help you fill out disability papers. And it's like, whoa.
well, they don't like say
No,
you come for dialysis and we're going to work our schedule.
No. It's you're disabled now. Your kidneys don't work, and it's so sad because it's extremely traumatizing. And I can give you an example. One of my clients was, oh my God, I'm older than he is, and he's like 22, 23 or whatever, and they kept pushing him to go get Social Security disability. And I was like, why are you doing this? He's going to go out on short-term disability. He works for New York City Housing Authority. He works for NYCHA, okay? Dad works for NYCHA. Dad got him pulled in. Nice young man. Comes to dialysis, doesn't give anybody problems. So he needed, the doctor has to vouch that you're going to be on short-term disability. She was very nasty to him. She was like, I'm not signing this paper no more. I'm not doing it. Go out on permanent disability. I'm going to go talk to the social worker about you because you're just being a pain about this. And the poor kid, they were like, well, go in the room and see Hope. Hope will correct it. And he was like, I want to go back to work. I just want my job assignment changed because he has to get a fistula. So that means we can't do any lifting, okay? And also, too, he worked with hazardous chemicals. So you can't do that and, you know, be on dialysis. He was like, so what I need to do is do this short-term disability, and I need someone to help me get my job assignment weird change.
blood
But
pressure.
me coming here and sitting on a machine for 3.5 hours and to have this woman telling me I'm not signing this anymore. Now you're talking about the depression coming in, because that short-term disability check is how him and his child and his fiance was eating, because he's not going to depend upon his parents. You know what I mean? And they do this. And I had to pull the doctor and I had to say to her, what's the problem that you can't sign the short-term? Oh, because every week he comes in. I said, it's the requirement of the short-term disability people. You're just attesting to say that he's going to be on dialysis from this week to next week. That's all you're doing. It's not a killer. Well, he don't need to work no more. The kid is 24 years old. What is he going to get? I said, you worked all your life. What are you going to get? I said, matter of fact, you're not even, not to be funny, I'm paying into your Social Security. As a doctor, okay? This kid is 23 years old. What is he going to get when it comes time for retirement and
Social
pension?
Security disability, how much is he going to be getting?
Thank you. He's not going to get anything.
And then further, we would encourage him to go for transplant. He
Thank
gets a
you.
transplant after, was it 2 years?
After 2
2
years
of successful
successful
transplant, he's no longer
disabled.
So why would you encourage him not to go to work?
But it's just the way how
people think.
People think about what is a disability.
So maybe we need to start thinking of physician training, like maybe some in-service training for physicians to put their frame of mind where it needs to be for the patients, because you're treating, the physician is treating the dialysis and not acknowledging that you have to treat the entire person. There's no holistic approach. So maybe we can fill that gap so that 24-year-old person is not relegated to SSI, because that's what he would be getting, SSI.
Exactly.
Does he have 5 years in that he's
Thank you.
eligible for Social Security disability? No. And the doctor's hasn't even looked into that fact. And what could he have made in those 5 years to give him enough money to survive in New York? Forget surviving anywhere in New York. On SSI gets 780 something, 66 something, some ridiculous price figure like that to live off of. Where's he gonna live?
But even just take it a step back further, why would you even foster that behavior? You have a young man who tells you, anytime a patient comes to you and say, I want to go back to work, you need to make it happen. Period, point, ended. That's one less person that's going to have to be having to use Social Security disability.
Except that the doctor doesn't really.
I guess you can attest to this. They know.
They don't care.
But
I didn't say they didn't know. They're not really trying to work with the psyche of the patient. They're working for that's why I have a problem with all the specialties. Like if I go to my doctor and I say my foot hurts, she's sending me to a foot doctor. And in the older days, they looked at your foot
and saw what was exactly.
So she's only looking at his kidneys, not his mind. Right. She's just his mind. Right. And why are you bothering me with this when your kidneys are not working? They're not coming back.
But then the other issue too is look at how society is now having the whole healthcare system it's all managed
because
care.
They all started operating in silos. So now the managed care is in a way is managing all the silos.
That's like you said, back in the old day, if you got sick,
you went to your doctor.
You went to your primary care, your physician, your old doctor, whatever the case may be. You told him what was wrong with you. He'd fix it. And if he really didn't know or she really didn't know, she'd be like, you know what? This is like out of my league and I can't do it. I went to the dermatologist. I had a small pimple and I was like, look, I'll fix it. And she was like, she looked at it. She touched it, did whatever. She was like, I was like, okay, well, numb me. I'm stupid. I'm the beauty queen. Numb it up, fix it, take it out, and don't leave a scar. We're good to go. She looked at me. She said, I ain't touching that. I said, what do you mean you're not touching it? You did the one on my back, so now we're having this dialogue. You did the one on my back. Why you can't do the one on my face? She goes, because that's out of my area. She was going to send you to the plastic surgeon. I'm flipping plastic surgeon. I'm like, what? I'm going to get a new tummy tuck? What do you mean you're sending me to the plastic surgeon? Plastic surgeon. Come to find out, it was a subcutaneous cyst that was growing on my jawbone, and she couldn't do anything. That I understand, but at least she did the first diagnosis. Now, like you said, hey, I got a court. No, you got to go to pulmonary because I don't know what that is. How about it's like such a bronchitis, and can you give me some like high-powered DM cough syrup, and we can call it a day. You know what I mean? And let me save $35 in my pocket because I got to pay $35 to go to the specialist. It's the same thing. There is nobody wants to, I feel, train anymore. Everybody is so, this is my area and this is what I'm going to stick to, okay? Doctors, you got some that they're really sweet and they'll say, as much as I really want to address it, I can't because when it all comes down to it,
money.
He's not going to get paid for it. So if you do it for one, you're going to have to do it for 101. So it's the way society has a lot of things set up. And all of our systems, I hate to say it, especially our people with mental health, they come out and they tell me, I don't want to sit in the office all day long. I don't want to do it.
Sit in what office?
Sitting to do any recertifications, anything that they have to do to keep their services together, Medicaid, going to see the doctors. They'll tell me, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sit there anymore. You know why? It's because how people treat them while they're
because
there.
People tend to not treat people as they hope that someone will treat them.
True.
Even when I went to the Social Security Disability doctor's place up on Central Avenue, first they called and they said, "Oh, you have an appointment at 9:30 on Thursday." So I said, "Okay, I'm gonna get there early." So I was there at 9 o'clock. "Hi, my name is Hilda Brody," and they said, "But you were supposed to see the other doctor at 8:30. I said, "But you didn't tell me that. You told me 9:30. So I'm here at 9 o'clock. Well, we already sent your paperwork back over to..." Okay, so I had been a civil servant for a long time. So I was like, okay, so get my paperwork back. I have nothing but time. And I'll spend the day with you if I have to. It's good. And then there was a young lady behind me. She had like 2 or 3 kids, and she was pregnant. And they did basically the same thing to her. But she had a doctor's appointment after. And she was, and I got to go to the doctor. And I can't be staying here all day. And I'm saying, you might as well just sit. And the little kids are looking at their mommy like, "Oh, mommy, give me." And I said, "Come, kids, let's play." I said, "We're going to spend some time here. And it's going to be okay." And I said, "You need to call your doctor because we're going to be spending lunch here as well. And there's no place to eat here. So I hope you have some snacks in the bag for the kids." And then they did not get my paperwork until 2:30 in the afternoon. And they were waiting for me because they went to lunch and there was no place to go. And I'm sitting there going, now in the olden days, I'd have been nasty up in here. But they have all these signs up that say if you do this or you do that, they're going to arrest you for this or that. And I'm like, I have nothing but time.
But you know what? If you had an appointment at 8:30, you're only a half an hour late for that appointment. Where did you send the paperwork back to? Through what? And all of a sudden that many hours to get paperwork back that you just got rid of 30 minutes ago?
And I'm
Not
saying
very user-friendly.
I could handle that, but the
average person really
most
can't.
people say
And they don't get it.
They're anti me. They're not doing anything to help me. I mean, even with the Queen's Social Security office, I mean, they make you feel like doo-doo walking in the door. Now, you're already disabled and feeling crappy that you have the disability. Now you get to the Jamaica office, and yes, I'm going to keep putting the Jamaica office on blast. I don't like them. Because you go and you standing on a long line to get to the metal detector and where they make you take off your shoes. They don't have a chair. If you crippled, you disabled, take off your shoes. There ain't nobody there to help you put them back on.
No.
And then you have to go into the building and go up the stairs and wait on another line to get a number. And then sit down. And we sat there looking at the numbers not move for hours. So and that's what you have to tell people to expect.
Exactly.
At specific places. So what I say is, I don't go to Jamaica anymore. I go to New Rochelle where they're nice. And they treat people
with dignity.
Exactly. The lady came, I was helping my mother, she was my mother's home attendant. I was helping her trying to help her get Medicaid. What a nightmare. But she's still working. She's 81 years old. Stop it. And I keep telling her to stop working, but she says if she stops, she's going to die. So she's got to keep working. So we go to Jamaica, and they give her the form to fill out for her union to fill out. And the union wasn't filling it out correctly. Okay, so they give her the paper. The first time I let her take it to the union. What the hell? They had to fill out paper. Call me when you got it ready, and I'll bring you back. That didn't work. Okay, so got her. Whole mishmash again, and we get there, and they don't take you in a standing on a line to go to say, this is not filled out correctly. So I said, okay. So she gave us another form, and I said, could you tell me what we need to do? Well, they needed to fill out this, this, and this. So I said, okay, this time I go with her. So we went over to her union, and they filled out this, this, and this. And we went back. This is not filled out correctly. I said, Miss Hazel, we're going to New Rochelle. So when we got to New Rochelle, again, it wasn't filled out correctly. It wasn't. The lady said, this is incorrect.
Because that's not the form.
She said, wait, let me, and she called. She picked up the phone and she called the union and she said, but we need and she says, I'm going to give them another form. And then she says, no, come in here. We're going to get to the bottom of this. So now we're inside. We made it past the gates. And she says, okay, I'm going to give you this one more time. And I have the lady on the phone now. And she's going to complete it for you. And soon as you can complete this, can you get this done in 3 days? And I said, yes. I said, bring her back here and we can expedite. And I'm like, whoa, I love it here. This is so cool. And when we went back, it was still incomplete. The union was the problem with that. And the man said, I don't know what's happened here, but it's not. I said, can we do it this way? Instead of me driving back to Manhattan and going, could you give me the paperwork and your fax number and let them fax it to us once they've completed it? And this way we're right here. And he said, of course, we can't wait for the fax to come, but you can go out and take another number, and when it comes in, then we'll see her right away. That's unusual. So we give New Rochelle praise.
Westchester County.
Westchester County praise.
Westchester County.
How do you do that to people though? How do you do that? We've had voc rehab counselors that treated people like crap. You going in and saying, this is wrong with me, 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 and I can't work it. I can't do what I used to do, but help me find something that I can do. And
they don't want to do the work. They want to get the paycheck, but they don't want to do the work. And you have to do a little bit extra, and you have to do your research, and you have to know where the resources are to advise people properly. But when it's like, okay, so if I don't do it, you're really not going to tell on me. We really don't hold people accountable.
And we're not holding the agencies accountable either, because toward the end of my career as a voc rehab counselor, I noticed that the training we had in the beginning, intensive medical training, because you're having people come in with all the disabilities. You need to know what the effect the medication is going to have. You need to know what the effect the condition is going to have, because you need to match people up with employment. And they started doing a whole lot of computer training, online training, and training about the agency, the services of the agency, and how to provide the services but not really looking at what were the impediments to employment for the clientele. And the reason that you have these jobs are because of these people that are coming in here that have the disabilities, and without them,
you don't have a job.
You're unemployed. So don't make me feel like crap because I have a disability and you need me. And with formerly vested, presently Access VR, they made people on staff who had disabilities feel worse than the lowest of the low. Like you doing me a favor I'm doing you a favor by being here with my expertise. I didn't back down and I wasn't the most liked person there. But my clients appreciated an advocate on staff that's going to provide you with the services that you require. And long as people don't mind you holding their feet to the fire, even the people with the behavioral issues, if you're clear. And if you say, I don't know, I'll try to find out for you, but I don't know. People people who are in professions tend to not want to admit that we don't know everything.
It's true.
True.
And
But you do better with your client if you let your client know up front and up bat, because then you get a better working relationship with your client.
yes,
And you have to pull yourself down off the hierarchy of the
I
pedestal.
have a degree.
And I always say, listen, I may know this, I may know that. That I don't know, but I'm nosy. So since I'm nosy, I'm going to find out about that. And if I can't answer that, I believe you, I'm going to find somebody who's going to answer you. And we've done it to each other here at this table. Because the phone will ring, and Ms. Whitfield come and say, you know, I got a client that needs so-and-so, so-and-so, so, you know, and this one got me stuck. So what we going to do with it? I'd be like, all right, well, you know, he's part of the puzzle. Hey, but see that B that you just threw at me? Hold on, give me half an hour. Let me make a phone call. I get on the phone call, and I call the resource, and the resource going to give me the answer to answer B. So now we got a whole complete package, and she can go off and she can do what she needs to do. It's so many. We could sit here for hours, and we could talk about what it is that needs to be done. But you know what? People don't engage with other professionals, just professional to professional on jobs anymore. People are so stuck on, well, you know, I'm the queen of section A, B, C, and D, and you're the queen of section E, F, and G, and A, B, C, and D, and E, F, G ain't supposed to talk to each other.
But what happened to the team?
Well, there is no, you know what they say, there is no, we say there's no I, the team don't, sometimes doesn't mesh anymore.
I think it depends on who the leadership is. And
True.
if you're lucky enough to get a good leader who understands leadership and team, and then build. I mean, I'm in an employment situation now where I got a team leader. We're a team, and we're working to bring people into the fold who want to be part of the team because we want to make a difference. We want to sustain a difference. I have been in situations like maybe once or twice before. So you know, I've learned to appreciate when I'm with somebody, we working together for the greater good. But more often than not, you don't have that. And I can speak to just as many adversarial roles with management when I'm a good worker and I get things done. I may have a non-traditional way of doing it, or we may not like, but at the end of the day, I get the results that we need to get. But the hostility and the trauma of just being in that work environment, it doesn't help to build anybody. You have people talking about each other and the factions, and I mean, because there are some managers, that's their style, to keep those things going so you don't see how bad they are.
Because they don't understand the difference between a leader and a manager.
Exactly.
Because leaders, people do things for them because they want to. And a manager, they have to do it. And it's usually not done, well, I'm going to do the minimum. And unfortunately, that trickles down to the clientele who are expecting a little more than the minimum because it's not helpful.
And then you always get the flip side, that when you're on the other side of the table and you're willing to do the extra, and that client, they crack me up, you know, you're like Jesus that walks across water, wow, and I'd be dying laughing, I love you, and I'm like, I love you too, if we go to the office and do what I say, it will be all right, you know, and I laugh, and I get, and this used to piss management off because they can't give you big things, but they would do little stuff, like bring you a cup of coffee. Okay, or they'll go away on vacation, you know, and they bring you a tchotchke back. Like my clients used to know I drank coffee all the time. They would always see me running around. I got more mugs. I got more mugs in my house that I can say, this one brought me over the years, you know, mug. And then you have other managers like, well, you know, they never brought me a mug. I arranged for their vacation when you were out and you were on vacation, and they never brought me anything back. And I used to be nasty and be like, because they don't like you. It's real easy. It's simple. You know what I mean? You know, and you know, we can sit and we laugh at it and we chuckle at it now. But it's really sad that when you see a client come across your desk and you do the most bare minimal thing that they're supposed to get, not because you feel it's deserving. This is what you're supposed to do in your job, and this is what they're supposed to get. And how they take that, internalize, and view it. Like you went way and beyond beyond and above. And it's like, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I get my paycheck for. This is what I'm supposed to do. Yeah, how can I repay you? You don't repay me. You know what I mean? I come to work. This is what I get paid to do. Period, point, ended. You know, and they're like, wow, because so-and-so never did that for me.
So do we have to go back to the schools and ask them to put some kind of training in there to say, I remember having that training though. I remember a client services, and I remember having some training in that area. But why would you, I always wondered why people went into the helping profession not to help.
We came through on a time when there was volunteerism, whether you did it through your church, whether you did it through organizations like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or they had other similar organizations like that. I think we came at a time where people just were more into volunteering to help other people who weren't able to. I think a lot of that has gone like the way of saying the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning.
They don't do that anymore?
Some schools do, they do
Some
it over
schools,
the,
yeah.
you know, but not like.
Oh, I didn't know they didn't do that anymore.
you know.
And a lot of it's a cultural piece,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of it's
A lot
very
more different
cultural.
cultures.
It's a lot more different cultures. You got a lot more different cultures coming into the helping profession, and they have their own set of biases, and they have their own cultural beliefs that what they were brought up with. Social and foster care was the biggest thing. In Africa, no offense, you can beat your kid. You can beat them from sun up from sundown. If you want, you can hang them from a tree and wear it out the frame. Then they come here, and the kid that has an infraction, and they do that, and then who's on their doorstep?
CPS.
CPS, me. And I'm saying you can't do that. And they're looking at me, what do you mean I can't do that? Because first of all, we have child abuse laws, but that didn't, no, you can't do it, because here it's considered child abuse. Oh, but my dad did that. I listen, and you know what? As practitioners, I used to hear them say, well, you just can't do that because you're here. I used to have to flip it, and I used to say, I respect you. I understand in your country because that's part of your culture. I understand it was okay for you to do that. Here, we can't, because you're going to get this repercussion, that repercussion, and this is what's going to happen. So we got to meet somewhere in the happy medium. This is a learning process. Okay? And you'd be surprised how some people don't. And even with the person who has the LCSW, the LMSW, I laugh. Sometimes we are our own worst enemy when it comes to servicing people and our own personal biases and what we have to think. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to, what we taught us in social work school, when you walk in your place where you're doing clinical practicing or whatever you have to do, you got to stop and you got to leave your baggage at the door.
Exactly.
And there's days when I have to say, all right, I know what I'm being faced with. Okay, we've been having this conversation. Then we have the conversation like the other night. And I'm like, and after I got off the phone with you, I was like, wow, you got some baggage. Girl, when you go back to work Monday, you got to tie it up and leave it out the door. And go in there and do what it is you need to do. So a lot of it, yeah, the course is there. They teach it in social work school. They teach you that transference and counter-transference. You do that whole cultural, social work, cultural. But you know what? You got to learn how to manage it.
Yeah, what to say and
What to say and what not to say. Because, sometimes I know I can be a little raw and kind of not sugarcoat it. And if I can't get something done in a particular way, my way, I'll throw up the red flag. Well, she don't get it because, that's her culture. Where they come from, they don't understand it. And then it's like, nah, that wasn't very Christian-like, it wasn't. So you got to come back and say, all right. So, and then even if it is, now you got to sit down and you got to address it. And you got to ask that person. You just can't take it for granted.
Because I know that even with the voc rehab and the people who had the behavior difficulties, I mean, when I first started, I couldn't differentiate between the medical, physical, and the mental, and they had me outstationed at what used to be Altro on Jerome Avenue.
Revenue?
I remember.
Yeah, baby, they had me in this, and I had a little office, and the client came in, and he was like 6'4", 300 and something pounds. And I'm reading his case folder, and he's telling me that he wanted to go to college. And before I realized, my mouth said, well, no, because I don't see where that's a realistic goal for you. And then I realized, he's between me and the door. Mm-hmm. Oh, he could hurt me. Mm-hmm. And because, you sort of look in his face like, and I thank God that I was a smoker then. Because I said, would you like a cigarette?
Love it.
And then when he lit it, and then the office got full of smoke. I said, I gotta open the door because the smoke. I said, I'm a smoker, but the smoke is close to me. Okay, I open the door. That's what I did. So they came to help me, and we resolved it in that. I said, okay, I can't justify expending state funds for you for college right now,
But let's work it.
but there's a school in Brooklyn that has a pre-college summer program, and if you can get me at least a B in that program, then I can take it to my supervisor and say, yes, he may have had some difficulty before, but
Look
this
what
is
he's doing now.
look what he did this summer. So he's not in the same.
Place.
Okay. And I was like, I could have died that time. Okay. And it turns out that my first was, no, you're not ready, and all of that was correct. Because he when we got to the summer program, they had to call me, and he wouldn't listen to anybody but me, so I had to go and remove him from the building after the fourth day. So I was correct that he wasn't ready, but now I knew to go in saying. And you see, you weren't ready just now, but what we need to do is take a step back, and you're in therapy now. Talk to your therapist about what happened in these 4 days, and then we can work it out maybe next year. And that was, but when you have 300 and something clients, can you do that?
Can you remember from
Can you
client to
remember?
client?
Okay, and because remember, the government is now cutting the funds.
Yes.
Because they totaled up the billions of dollars that they threw into the toilet. Because you can't and it can't be justified anymore. It's not justified that you keep throwing good money after bad. And the outcomes that have been happening, because you don't have people aspiring to be the best that they can, that's what the problem has been. Because if I'm aspiring to be the best that I can, then I'm not taking a minimum wage job, so I'm paying
Right.
into the system.
Right.
And that's what the problem was, because when I was disabled at 24 too, and they said I wouldn't walk again, I wouldn't. Yeah, right, fix me, I'm telling you that, yeah. But I had a master's degree in experience, and in the first job I got, they paid me $10,400 and thought I should be happy about that. And I wasn't. And I told them I ain't staying long. But that's the expectation of the system, is that if you have a disability, and especially a mental disability, you are supposed to take less and be happy that you have something, that somebody was nice enough to hire you in the first place. And I say, I don't think so.
Well, a lot of that has changed now in the past couple of years, because now the rehab and rehabilitation recovery movement, they're pushing peer specialists, training for folks with lived experience, being trained, and now money's slowly funneling down to hire them in the positions. How that's going to work out in the long run, I don't know, but the jobs are out there.
Let me give you the chuckle.
Go ahead.
Howie T. Hart was the
Yes.
first peer specialist, because I was on the committee that set that up. I've been all over the place. Okay, and they were even going to, as far as to say initially, that the peer specialist did not need a high school diploma. And I said, you can't even be a messenger in New York City without having a high school diploma. So how are you telling people that they don't need a high school diploma? They need, if they don't have a high school diploma, they need to get a GED. And really, they should be thinking about an associate degree at least, at minimum. So we had that discussion. But we really tried with the peer specialists, because Howie T. Hart came about because of people being in institutions and being treated poorly by people who had not had similar experiences. And that's what that was all about. But the hospitals were expecting initially the peer specialists to work for free. And people are saying, if I'm putting in a 40-hour week,
Why am I not getting a paycheck?
are you saying that what I'm doing is not worth anything? That it's worthless? And the training, so then they were giving them transportation, car fare to get back and forth to whatever site they went to. Well, that's insufficient as well. Because once you start giving me any kind of funding, then you're looking at my benefits also. Because the benefit people are not saying it's a car fare. They're saying you're getting some money, and we can look at and see if we can take out some of your money.
Right.
And the other thing with our clients is they don't even bother to get the red book. You can beg people to get the red book. Know what your rights are.
I printed
Exactly.
up for him. Here, here. You need to look at the red book. Here's a copy. I just give it out.
They don't read it though. They don't. That's the thing, because they said, Hilda, you memorized the book. I said, I memorized the parts that I needed to know. You need to look at what we need to be doing, and that's what you need, because how is it going to affect you? Because Social Security disability is different than SSI.
Of course.
You know, but they both have the 36-week extended eligibility. And we could go on forever.
But like I said, it's all about, it's who you get, what you get, and who has the education and who's willing to pass it on and do whatever. That's just where we're at. And not everybody's going to find what the three of us sitting here that's diamond in the rough. That's going to say, okay, well, because we're quick to say, well, that, we say it to each other all the time, well, that don't make no kind of sense. Or we engage with other practitioners, and you know when they're trying to give your client the runaround, the shaft, the screw up, the flim flam. And then you come along and then you start quoting what one told me, the lady said, oh, you just giving the psychobabble. I said, well, you need to pay attention to the psychobabble because you got to process this application.
Exactly. And as usual, I run out of time. See how fast it went? Yeah. It always goes fast. But I want to thank you both for coming and sharing.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. And to my audience, I say, we're going to keep bringing it to you. So I want to thank you again for choosing In My Shoes, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, M-Wham got a message for you. Check it out. How many of us offended by the boxers or the sagging pants in our community? I got a song for you. Check it out. Here we go. Come on.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
It's the new style.
Come on, Colette, talk to me.
Say, Mr. Harris, sagging jeans is an epidemic.
That's right.
One that I've never been a fan of. And I can't stand how these young men, they sagging, they dragging. Come on, pull your pants up. And I know us girls, we in the wrong for not putting these fellas on.
You got the power.
But I'm offended by boxers. And I think that we all should be.
Come on, help me.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Why?
It's the new style.
Come on.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up.
Yeah.
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It'll make your mama proud.
Here we go.
We living in a world affected by an epidemic. Sagging jeans and sweatpants is how men living. Need to set the example to make the future right. So hear our message when we hit you with the chair, right?
Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up,
It's kind of catchy.
pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It's the new style. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. Pull your pants up, pull your pants up. It'll make your mama proud.
I know you heard your belt say.